Hello everyone, my name is Nondumiso Ntshangase. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and for those who haven't watched the introduction video, please go do so that you can get to know me a little bit more. Please note that none of the videos that I do constitute as financial advice. I'm just giving you financial information. If you require financial advice, please consult with a person who is registered and certified with the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. So on the last video that I did, I said that I was going to be doing a couple of videos on investments, but I thought it's not very wise to just jump right into investments. So I want to talk a little bit about financial planning today so that we make sure that you channel your money to the things that are important to you. So a financial plan basically will help you use your money to achieve your financial and life goals. So be it your short-term goals or your long-term goals, but it will make sure that your money goes to what is important to you, and it aligns with what your values are. So a financial plan basically is something that you generally do with make with a financial planner. But I know that not everybody is keen to meet with a financial advisor or planner, although you actually have to, because it's beneficial to you. But if you have not met with a financial planner to make a financial plan, you can actually do one yourself. And today I'm going to be giving you just a couple of tips on how you can actually put together a financial plan. And once you've put together your financial plan, you need to, review it time and time again as your goals change. Like, for example, if you now have a child, your priorities and your goals are not going to be the same as a person who is single. Right? So, did I just say single? A person who is single and does not have a child, rather than a person who is married and have a child, your priorities and your goals will definitely be different. So, as your life progresses, as you get a promotion, make sure that you review your financial plan. Actually, I think a practical way of looking at this is, if you have that plan in place, if you receive something like an inheritance or just random money, or if you win the lottery, some of you who are lucky, we won't see you on I blew it, because you already have a plan, and you'll make sure that you channel that money that you receive randomly to the things that are important to you. People who don't have a plan normally just use that money for things that they have not planned for, and it finishes. But if you make sure that you've planned for it, it will be channeled to the things that are important to you. So we won't see you on I blew it, right? So in looking at a financial plan, there's a couple of things that you need to look at. I think we're going to deal with 6 of them. So the first one is your personal financial management. This is where you assess whether you are living within your means, number one. I mean, if you are earning 10,000 rands and your monthly expenses are 15,000 rands, it is clear there that you are not living within your means. So you must make sure that you shuffle things around, prioritize. Maybe you need to cut certain things from your budget to make sure that you are living within your means. You also obviously need that budget. So I think we all know what a budget is, but for those who probably might benefit from the nitty-gritties of a budget, I'll probably do a video later on regarding what you need when you have a budget. Under your personal financial management, you also look at something like your emergency fund. So experts would tell you that you need about 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses on a monthly basis that is put aside for emergencies, right? So I think that's very important, because, for example, if you are putting away money into the stock market and you're buying shares on a monthly basis, and you have now an emergency, right? Maybe imoto yakho, maybe awuna insurance and ushayisa iPorsche, and scratch esincane nje requires that 50k, and you don't have an emergency fund. What are you going to do? So you need to actually have an emergency fund. So when you have things that you have not planned for, if they actually happen, you dip into that. And also, if you lose your job, I mean, we are living in a bad economic conditions where people are losing their jobs. So if you have money that is put away for your expenses for about 3 to 6 months, then you know that you don't have to be worried much when things like that happen, because you have planned for them in advance, and you don't have to now go deep into your investment in the stock market, because you might end up having to sell it at a loss because you need it urgently. So you definitely need an emergency fund as well to cater for such things. And another important one under personal financial management is your debt management. Ikweletu bakwethu sinazo ke, sibaningi sinazo. You find debts like like maybe your mortgage, or for imoto, imali okhokha every month for your car, or for your house. Those are things that are considered as, good debt, but we also have bad debt. So you have to manage those, especially if it's expensive debt. So where the interest rate is very high, and because the interest is very high, and on a monthly basis I'm paying so much, but so under your personal financial management, that is where you actually put in place things that will make sure that you reduce that debt. So you decide to say, I'm going to pay more towards this specific debt because and the more we you can free up money for investments. Okay. So another important thing, so the second thing that we're going to look at is your investment planning, right? So we are not just investing for the sake of investing. So we have specific goals that we are investing towards. So once you know what those goals are, then you're going to know how much to put in order for you to reach that goal. And then you also have to determine how much rate of return you need. So maybe let's say you want to purchase something in the next 5 years, and you are putting money away for that specific goal. You need to know how much you want from that investment. Do you need it to yield 8% for you, 10%, 20%? So once you've determined that, then you're going to know which asset class to choose. So for example, if you are looking at an investment that is more long term, then you know that something like your equities, so your shares, are the best thing to invest in. So an investment plan helps you choose where your money needs to go. So if you're looking to actually preserve your capital and to just receive that interest on a monthly basis, that specific interest, you can put your money in things like a bond. So it's important to actually look at your investment plan as well, to ensure that you know where to put your money. Ungati investor you're investing for the next 20 years, but your money is in the bank account, or is in you've purchased a bond, a government bond, for example. Then Uguti, that money is just sitting and it's not really making you much money. But if you were to put it in the stock market, it will make you way more money, right? So you also, under that investment planning, look at your risk tolerance, ne? Ungathi usufakile imali yakho mhlambe kwi-stock market and then it reduces by 50%, because short term, if you're looking at a more long-term investment, in the shorter space of time, your money could literally go so down that you think, okay, imali yami ngiyayiluza, but you actually sit it out or wait it out, and in a couple of years, or even in a few months, it actually picks up and ends up giving you what you wanted. So if you uzazi ukuthi mawuyibona imali yakhe ehla ngo-50% uzofuna ukuyikhipha, just note that maybe you need less riskier products, because then you're not adhering to what your risk tolerance is. The third thing is your risk management. This, I think, is very important, because if you do not have this in place, it can mess with your whole financial plan. So under your risk management, we look at things like your insurance. Do you have life cover? Do you have funeral cover? We look at things like disability cover. If something happens to you at work and you can't work anymore, do you have a place where you can actually receive a monthly income? So you need to make sure that you put your disability cover in place. Usually we normally leave it to the employer to make sure that they provide this for us, but you need to actually go to the employer and assess, or ask them to give you how much, or show you how much you would receive if you were to be disabled. Because if you don't do that, then you might find that what they've covered you for is not actually sufficient, and you might have to add to that cover, right? Similar as same with life cover. If you know that you have a child and maybe you have life cover at work, do check if it's sufficient. If maybe something happens to you and you end up maybe receiving $1 million. Well, your child ends up receiving $1 million. Is that $1 million enough to make sure that your child gets to a point where they are self-sufficient because you're no longer there? So you have to review such things, make sure you have them in place. If you already have them in place, review to see if they are enough. Things like your medical aid. If you don't have medical aid, or if you have medical aid that is not sufficient and you don't have gap cover to cover for, maybe extra things that your medical aid doesn't pay for, or maybe the rates at the hospitals, they pay a certain amount and a certain amount you have to pay for yourself. Do you have gap cover? You have to make sure that you do check those things, because if you don't, uzobusu investile lapho 60,000 with stock market ihleli imali yakho, kodwa maybe it's because you just invested it and it's maybe now 50k. You have to remove it from the stock market because you now have a medical bill to pay and they are pressing you to pay it. So it's very important to make sure that you look at your risk planning so that your financial plan is not disturbed for things that you can actually cater for right now. So, if you are investing, for example, 2,000 rands a month, you can take 200 rands and buy a certain product that protects your asset. So it protects you from instances where you now have to pay from your investment, right? So the fourth thing that you have to look at is your tax planning. So you have to know how tax works in order for you to optimize the products that you buy. So under here, you have to look at things like your tax-free savings account. The government guys give us things that they give us things that make sure that as much as they do take a lot of our money, they also give us certain concessions to make sure that tax also works in our favor. So here you look at things like your tax-free savings account. So for those who don't know what a tax-free savings account, it's a product that was, it's not a product, but sort of something that, let me just call it something. It was something that was introduced by the National Treasury, I think in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, where they say a person can put away 36,000 rands a year and up to 500,000 rands per lifetime. So the money that you put away will not be subject to tax. So if you put away that 36,000 maybe for the next 10 years, and now the money has tripled or doubled or whatever it has done, the government won't tax you on if you put money in that account. So these are things that the government puts in place to, and you have to definitely take advantage of them. And you also have to look at things like your deductions that, for your retirement fund. So you know that if you are putting out, let's say, I'm just going to use it as an example, put it as an example. If you earn 10,000 rands a month and you're putting away 1,000 rands towards your retirement, the government is not going to tax you on 10,000 rands, which is your amount that you earn on a monthly basis, but they will tax you on 9,000 rands because they give you a deduction of 1,000 rands that you are putting away for your retirement. So in certain instances, you find that putting money towards either your retirement annuity or your retirement at work normally reduces your tax to a point where you actually get more on your net. So it might end up putting you in a lower tax bracket than what you are on, but you are now getting more, money in your bank account, and you're also investing towards retirement, and your money is not being charged by tax. So you definitely have to look at, such things in order to ensure that, you optimize the things that the government has given you as, tax concessions. Another important one, and maybe a very favorite for me because I'm in that space. This is retirement planning. So this is your number 5. Retirement planning is very important. So National Treasury conducted a study, and then they said about 6% of South Africans retire comfortably. So people who are able to maintain the same living the same standard of living at retirement is about 6%. So it means a lot of us are on the the other side. So you need to make sure that you plan for these things to make sure that when you are now retired, you are able to enjoy your money and you are able to not be bothering your family members or your children. I mean, we definitely need to change and be a different generation that is not relying on our children when we have retired. But we generally don't look at that because we think, hey, retirement is so far off. You are 20 now or you are 30 and you're like, and you don't look into it. But in order for you to ensure that you retire comfortably, you need to build that retirement fund now, right? So here you have to look at things if you were to resign now, what are you going to do with your money? A lot of people resign or leave employment and they take their money each and every time they leave. And if I retire, actually, when I retire at 65, I'm not going to get that much. And the reason is because you've been taking your money throughout your working life. So you need to either preserve your money, because your money, your retirement fund is purely for that retirement. It's not for you to pay off your debt. It's not for any of these things that we end up using it for. So if you want to retire comfortably, make sure that when you leave an employer, it's either you preserve your money or you leave it in that fund until you've made a decision on what to do with it, or you can also transfer it to your your next employer. So, and you can also have like an extra retirement annuity. So if you have a retirement fund already at work, you can have a retirement annuity on the side where you are putting away money. So just make sure that you also look at your retirement planning. Although for some of us who are still young, it might look far off, but this is the time to actually plan for it. Not when you are now in your late 50s. Excuse me. So the sixth thing that you have to look at is your estate planning. This is really, really, really important. This is where you have to look at whether, I think everybody needs to sit down and look at how much they're going to have should something happen to them. How much is your family going to receive, especially when you have people depending on you. If you have a husband, if you have a child, or if you're a breadwinner like myself, you have to make sure that you have provided for your dependents or your beneficiaries should something happen to you. So this is where you obviously also have to look at things like your life cover, and you have to look at your will as well. You have to write a will. Everybody needs to ensure that they have a will so that their money goes to the people they want it to go to. If you don't have a will, then the law will take its course and your money might end up going to maybe if you haven't divorced your spouse and you have a spouse that you have been separated from for the past 10 years, it might end up going to that person if you do not actually write down a will to say, this is who I want my money to go to. And this is also where if you have maybe a special needs child or just young children, you have to look at that and determine who can take care of these children when you're no longer there. Are they going to be able to manage the nest that you've left, the financial nest that you've left for these children? And if you don't have much faith on those people, maybe you put things like your trust in place to ensure that your money is put in that trust to protect these children. So it's very, very important to make sure that you have an estate plan. And the last thing we look at is your business planning. So this is for people who have businesses. I don't personally have a business, but for a person who has a business, you have to make sure that you have things like business insurance. You have to look at, so if something happens, look at COVID, for example. When COVID hit, people were not able to actually sell their products because the country was on lockdown. And you have to make sure that you have business insurance, or make sure that you also have reserves, financial reserves, to help you through the times where you're not able to sell your products, or when your sales are not doing that well. If you have reserves, then you know that you don't have to be worried much, right? And you can just focus on making sure that you are selling your products. You must also consider things like business continuity, right? I mean, if you have load shedding, what happens to your business? If you're frying chicken each and every day and you have load shedding, what happens? you're not going to fry the chicken. So maybe you need to get gas. So you need to make sure that you put business continuity plans in place, so that when something happens, your business can still run as it's supposed to and service your customers, right? But I think what is important to note, so this is the sixth thing that we looked at, right? So we've looked at all six. And what is important to note is that obviously not all of us will need the six things, right? Or maybe your priorities won't be, it won't be the same. For example, under your personal financial management, some people don't have debt, so you don't have to be looking at that. And maybe you are just a person and you're not really thinking about who I'm going to leave my money to, or like maybe I need life cover. Maybe you just don't care if you die and nobody gets anything. So that's not where your priority is. So when you're looking at your financial plan, see what your priorities are and ensure that the money that you have now is channeled to the things that are important to you. And I mean, people look at their salaries and think, maybe I don't earn that much and maybe I should not be looking at all these things. But that's actually where the financial plan, sorry guys, but that's where the financial plan is important, because it means the money that you have, you stretch it to ensure that it covers the things that are more important to you. So please go and make sure that you make your financial plan to ensure that your money goes to the things that are important to you. The next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through the platform that I invest in, or invest with rather, and then if you are interested, then maybe you can join. But I mean, also in the comments, if people invest with different providers and they feel that they've had good experiences with those, you can leave a comment and maybe people can be channeled to those as well. So yeah, and thank you. We've come to the end of the video. Thank you.